Well, I'd like to welcome you to another FishingLocalWaters.com episode. Normally, I like to start every episode with showing you the body of water in which we're fishing. Believe it or not, I'm standing in where a body of water used to be. I'm standing in the old creek bed of the Banklick Creek. Now, the Banklick Creek still exists today, as many of you know, but this portion of Banklick Creek was redirected about in the 1960s. So that would be what? That would be almost 60 years ago, or more than 60 years ago. And where I'm standing, this would have been 30 feet across, and it would have been at least 5 to 6 feet deep. Banklick came into a horseshoe, came off of Banklick, came into a horseshoe, came around through here, and merged down there, that direction, at the Brushy Fork Creek. They joined together, and then they circled back around and came out on the other end of the horseshoe over that direction. But let me explain to you what happened, why the creek's not here anymore, and where it is today. But thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy another episode of FishingLocalWaters.com. Welcome to another episode of FishingLocalWaters.com. Remember, if you're fishing, you're almost always fishing in someone's local waters. So when on private land, talk to the owners and ask permission. And always be courteous and good stewards whenever you're on private or public properties. As a reminder, if you haven't already, please subscribe below. It helps us and allows us to keep you informed. As always, we hope you enjoy this segment of FishingLocalWaters.com. When we overlay a 1950 topographical map with one from 1990, we see the Banklick Creek vanish before our very eyes. The location of the disappearing creek is in the Brushy Fork Nature Preserve in Independence, Kentucky. This forested 98-acre property is managed by the Banklick Watershed Council and Kenton Conservancy, and it is open to the public for hiking. To understand why this creek disappeared, we need to look closer to the adjacent railroad that forms the western border of the nature preserve. By standing on an overlook in the preserve, we see Banklick Creek at the base of a sheared cliff and staying west of the railroad tracks. This is not the natural flow of this creek or the original design of the railroad. This 82-mile-long railroad line runs from LaGrange to Newport, Kentucky. The original construction started in January of 1867 and was completed in the latter part of 1869. The line was originally owned and operated by the Louisville, Cincinnati, and Lexington Railroad, which later became part of the L&N. During that time, it was referred to as the Short Line, a nickname that remains today, even though it is now part of the CSX system and officially called the LCL subdivision. This 1950 topo map shows the railroad as it was first constructed in 1867. When the lines were first built, this section included 2 tunnels and 3 bridges. The 3 bridges allowed the Banklick Creek to maintain its natural route through 2 horseshoe bends. The first horseshoe flowed to the east, where I was standing in the opening shot. The second flowed to the west. The 2 tunnels cleared the 2 hilltops above, and the Banklick Creek flowed into valleys below. The creek stayed in its natural bed, and the railroad operated on the tracks above until the 1960s. In the 1950s, piggybacking loaded semi-trailers onto flatbed railroad cars was becoming a new way to efficiently transport and handle freight. However, this required additional heights in the tunnels and underpasses. There were also reports that the brick lining inside of Tunnel 5 was beginning to show signs of structural decay. Therefore, in 1962, construction took place to daylight the 2 tunnels. Removing 320,000 cubic yards of rock-based spoils would have been a delicate procedure if bridges number 38 and number 39 remained in place. Therefore, a decision was made to daylight the tunnels and remove the bridges and build a continual railroad bed through this section of the line. A massive galvanized copper-bearing pure iron pipe was designed and made by ARMCO Drainage and Metal Products to support the train above and to allow water to flow under the tracks. 2 such pipes would have been required if the natural flow of the creek was to be maintained. Cost, availability, and time was taken into consideration, and the railroad decided to only install 1 pipe to allow Brushy Fork Creek to flow out of the basin they would be creating and to reroute Banklick Creek down the west side of the tracks. This would eliminate the horseshoe section that flowed into what is now the Brushy Fork Preserve. This was purely an economic decision with no regard to the harm this would cause to the ecosystem associated with the 2 creeks. This decision-making process is not surprising. The American conversation about protecting the environment began in the same year as the railroad daylighting construction project. In 1962, Rachel Carson released her book, which was titled Silent Spring, which attacked the indiscriminate use of pesticides. This book began to raise the awareness of human impact on our environment, which led to the creation of the EPA on December 4th, 1970. Since 1962, we have learned that a stream is a system. It includes more than just the water flowing between the banks. There is also a zone of wet settlement and small stones full of tiny creatures just below the stream bed called the Hyporheic Zone. This zone keeps the waterway healthy by regulating critical physical, biological, and chemical processes, including riverbed aeration, water oxygen levels, temperature moderation, pollution cleanup, and food creation. Bulldozing and channeling of streams, such as the Banklick Creek adjacent to the railroad, scours away the Hyporheic Zone, which is critical to the health and the well-being of the waterway. Brushy Fork Creek now runs in a 1-mile section of creek bed that once held the combined water of itself and Banklick Creek. At the old confluence of the 2 creeks, Brushy Fork Creek gives the appearance of being in pretty good shape. Additional testing would be required to verify its true status. However, downstream, the creek bed appears to be much larger than the water now flowing through the creek bed. Knowing the history of radically shutting off a major water source, this makes sense. As we round the bend and approach the railroad pipe that was installed to allow Brushy Fork Creek to enter Banklick Creek, we see signs of a wetland or a marsh beginning to develop. This is not how the railroad engineers envisioned the water flow. But then again, nature does have a mind of its own. I do not separate God from nature, no more than I separate mankind from God. It is my belief that a sacred consciousness and order cycles through the heavens and earth and all living things. Nature does not need our help. She will heal herself from mankind's abuse, often by destroying man-made structures and inflicting pain at subtle and disastrous levels upon mankind. We need to learn to coexist, respect, and love nature, not for the sake of protecting nature, but for the sake of protecting mankind. In closing, I know there are a lot of you who love trains. I have included an uninterrupted bonus section of a CSX northbound freight train running through this section of track at 5:30 p.m. I was lucky enough to capture this video while researching this episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode of FishingLocalWaters.com.